As they drove through Mutungo, the vehicle suddenly slowed near a dark stretch of road. That's when gunmen approached and opened fire through the car windows. He was hit multiple times and died shortly after being rushed to hospital. Early investigations revealed suspicious communication patterns between the driver and other suspects before the attack, suggesting coordination. Police later arrested 3 men, believed to be central to the plot, though the wider motive remains unsettled, ranging from personal grudges to retaliation over his online exposés. What's clear is that his final hours were shaped by familiar faces, a calculated setup, and the dangerous intersection between digital influence and real-world conflict. Welcome to True Crime by Chencho. My name is Chencho Man. Today we have a story of vlogger Ibrahim Tusuubira Lubega, also known as Jajja Ichuli or Olaxess. Jajja Ichuli was born in Kampala, Uganda. In 2005, he left Uganda and moved to Sweden, reportedly seeking a better life. He spent the 10 years in Sweden, working, learning, and adjusting to a society worlds apart from the one he grew up in. Yet, even with a decade abroad, the connection to home never faded. The memories, the family ties, the sense of belonging, you can't erase those with distance. After 10 years in Scandinavia, Jajja Ichuli made the choice many immigrants grapple with: to return home. Friends say he returned hopeful, ready to reconnect with his roots, start new ventures, and write the next part of his story on familiar soil. Upon return, he became a social media influencer, or for-hire commentator. The Monitor article says he came back in the run-up to the 2021 Uganda elections, where he engaged in political commentary. On the evening of May 6, 2023, gunfire echoed through the Kampala suburb of Kianja. Within minutes, one of Uganda's most controversial and outspoken online voices, Ibrahim Tusuubira Lubega, better known as Jajja Ichuli or Olaxess, was dead. A vlogger, activist, and head of the Uganda Bloggers Association, Ichuli had built a following by speaking his mind, no matter the consequences. But his voice was silenced violently, in a murder that continues to raise questions of justice, motive, and impunity. Born in Uganda, Ibrahim Tusuubira reinvented himself online as Jajja Ichuli. His commentary blended politics, celebrity gossip, and fiery criticism. Love him or hate him, Ichuli was impossible to ignore. The day before Olaxess was murdered, he made a video about a deceased Uganda Labour Minister, Charles Okello Ngola. The minister was allegedly shot to death by his own disgruntled security guard. Here is the video.
Abantu babakowa muli bantu babinyo era mukimanye eyo si oyo yekka bakyabakuba nodda ku bakozi abasulanga bakuuma ne bwogenda mu toyi kyokka n'oyagala ensi ekutendereze bajja bakuba nnyo bakyabakuba so omu oba babiri mukyakubwa bajja kukuba muli bantu babinyo omuntu n'omulumya enjala akuvuga omuntu n'olemu owaayo emitwalo 5 amwana wasome ng'asiba ku pick up ng'ayimiridde mabega mbwali muli agenda mu lodge talina na kyakolera gavumenti tebalina kye bakoze kyakiri mu gavumenti eno mumanyidde nnyo abantu mwe abali mu bwofisi mumanyidde abantu naye bakyabakuba ba bodyguard tewali investigation bodyguard amukubye naye neyejja munsi muyiga okuwa abantu ekitiibwa omuntu waba akukoledde nga yeetaaga osasulwa musasule naye ne bwoneekozaakoza otya wanudde mu 7 tasaakukuuma ne bw'oyitawo ne bipick up nga bakukuuma wallahi billahi tallahi olunaku gye luli lumu ojja tegeera.
After Olaxess was murdered, Galaxy FM, a local radio station, reported in Uganda. Bwino Bibino ebigambo bia Isma Olaxess ebiasembio ku sasiera sose. Roughly meaning. Indeed, the words of Isma Olaxess which he put out the previous day have caught up in context of the murder. He spoke against powerful figures, mocked rivals, and often clashed with authorities. Was his death the cost of speaking too loudly, in a country where freedom of expression is tightly monitored? At 9:20 p.m., Ichuli was returning home in a Toyota Hiace, alongside his driver, Matthias Waswa. Gunman opened fire. Witnesses reported an SMG, but forensic investigators later confirmed it was a pistol. The attackers vanished into the night. At the scene, police recovered spent cartridges, bullets, and a single glove, believed to belong to the shooter. CCTV footage and phone records were seized. Sniffer dogs followed trails, but the killers had already disappeared. One detail puzzled investigators: the driver was unharmed despite bullet holes on his side of the car. A coincidence? Or a clue? Uganda's Criminal Investigations Department, alongside crime intelligence, forensics, and IT units, launched a probe. At least 3 suspects were arrested, including the driver himself. Yet none have been formally convicted. The law provides a clear path, under Section 188 and 189 of Uganda's Penal Code. Murder with malice aforethought is a capital offense, punishable by death or life imprisonment. The Firearms Act criminalizes unlawful weapon possession. If the pistol is traced, it could expose a network behind the killing. The Evidence Act ensures CCTV, ballistics, and forensic results are admissible in court, provided the chain of custody is intact. But Uganda's history of unsolved high-profile assassinations has left many skeptical. Some point to his political commentary, others to personal rivalries. Police have not confirmed either. Phone interceptions were authorized under the Regulation of Interception of Communications Act of 2010. This allowed investigators to trace calls before and after the shooting. Yet one question lingers: was the driver a witness? If he is protected under the Witness Protection Act of 2015. Or is he a suspect, complicit in the plot? As long as that remains unclear, the public remains divided. Ichuli's death sparked national outrage. Politicians, including General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, demanded swift justice. But commentators warned that, like other assassinations, this case risked fading into Uganda's growing list of unresolved murders. Who killed Jajja Ichuli? It remains the question no one can answer. The law is clear. Murder is a capital crime. Weapons can be traced. Phone calls can be intercepted. Witnesses can be protected. And yet, in practice, the path to justice in Uganda is often blocked by shadows. For now, the killers of Jajja Ichuli remain free. His followers continue to ask, will Uganda's legal system deliver justice, or will this case join the long list of unanswered assassinations? Here is a summary of the facts about the case. Victim: Ibrahim Tusuubira Lubega, popularly known as Jajja Ichuli or Isma Olaxess. A Ugandan vlogger and president of the Uganda Bloggers Association. Date and time of incident: May 6, 2023, around 9:20 p.m. Location: Kianja, a suburb of Kampala, Uganda, near his home. Circumstances: he was traveling in a Toyota Hiace, UBK 213D, with his driver, Matthias Waswa. Gunmen opened fire on the vehicle, killing Ichuli instantly. The attackers escaped on a motorcycle. Weapons: initially reported as a submachine gun (SMG), later confirmed to be a pistol. Evidence collected: spent cartridges and bullets, including some from the body during post-mortem. A glove believed to have been dropped by a shooter. CCTV footage from nearby cameras. Phone records for communications analysis. Driver's role: survived without injuries despite bullet holes on his side of the vehicle, raising suspicions. Investigation. Led by Uganda Police's CID, Crime Intelligence, Forensics, and IT units. At least 3 suspects arrested, including the driver. Motive remains unconfirmed, whether political, personal, or otherwise. Public reaction. Widespread outrage and calls for justice. Senior officials, including General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, urged expedited investigations. Critics warn it may join a list of unsolved high-profile killings in Uganda. There was a claim that another vlogger, Serenjoji Timeti, aka Barrister Timo, is connected to the murder of Jajja Ichuli. According to a report by Chimp Reports, Barrister Timo claimed that he called Olaxess about an hour before the murder, requesting a meeting, and later said he fled the country, back to Dubai, fearing for his life. There is no verifiable evidence in public domain that Barrister Timo has been formally charged, or that police have publicly confirmed his connection as a suspect in the murder investigation. But the fact that there was a call leading up to the murder, and when Olaxess received the call, he asked his driver to stop at Mutungo roundabout, and this is included as part of the investigation. Barrister Timo's claim allegedly ties him to that call. Given the police denial of a warrant and the absence of formal charges, the link to Barrister Timo remains allegational and not proven or officially substantiated. From a forensic or legal perspective, if Barrister Timo were involved, investigators would need to establish call logs, location tracking, motive, and linkages to the attack. Without those publicly available, the claim remains speculative. Now the conclusion. The evidence establishes that Jajja Ichuli's death was a deliberate, targeted killing. Forensic recovery of bullets, cartridges, and a glove, along with CCTV and telecom data, provide investigative leads. The survival of the driver despite bullet strikes to his side of the vehicle remains a critical anomaly under review legally. The case falls under sections 188 to 189 of the Penal Code, murder with malice aforethought, a capital offense, reinforced by the Firearms Act, illegal weapon use, and the Evidence Act, admissibility of forensic and digital material. Interception of communications is lawful under the 2010 Act, and potential witness protection is covered by the 2015 Act. Despite arrest, no mastermind or motive has been conclusively established. The case highlights systemic weaknesses in Uganda's homicide investigations, particularly in high-profile political or media killings, and underscores the continuing challenge of ensuring credible prosecutions and deterrence. Enough about me. Here is Nomukosa and PJ with a mini deep dive of the case.
Thank you, Chencher. So let's set the scene. It's May 6th, 2023. We're in the Jajja suburb of Kampala around 9:20 p.m. A man, unmasked, has been waiting in the dark for 2 hours. He's not hiding. He just walks up to a car, raises a submachine gun, and executes the passenger.
And that passenger was Tusuubira Ibrahim Lubega, but most people knew him as Jajja Ichuli or Olaxess.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's about more than just one murder. We're going to peel back the layers on this.
We really are. We've been digging through police reports, op-eds from The Observer, The Nile Post. And what you find is that this isn't just a crime story. It's really an autopsy of Uganda's whole security crisis.
The illusion of safety.
The illusion of safety, exactly. And the life of this man who was, he was such a paradox, a guy who celebrated violence right up until it came for him.
Let's start with that paradox, because publicly, Ichuli was, this abrasive, loudmouth vlogger. He was the president of the Uganda Bloggers Association.
Right, very controversial figure. But when you look past that online persona, the sources we have describe a man living a totally different life, a much quieter one.
It's a tragic contrast, isn't it?
It is. He openly struggled with infertility. His own father, Haji Mohammed Kasaja, confirmed this. And his father actually described him as a humanitarian, someone who always put other people first.
That's so hard to square with the person you saw on screen.
It is. And he worked hard to protect that private life. He apparently had multiple wives, but kept them completely out of the spotlight. It's almost like he knew his world was dangerous.
But this is where the story takes a really dark turn.
You're thinking about the timing.
The timing. Just days before he was killed, he posts a video celebrating the murder of a government minister, Charles Ngola.
Cheering on the bloodshed.
Right.
It's a grim irony. He was validating a culture of violence, and then he became a statistic in it.
It makes you think of that quote from Bobi Wine after the murder. He said, "Everyone is a potential victim. It doesn't matter what side you're on."
No, it really doesn't. Which I think brings us to the actual hit, because the details of the attack itself, they don't add up.
Especially when you look at the driver, Matthias Waswa.
So what stands out to you about him?
Well, just think about it. The car is absolutely riddled with bullets. A submachine gun targeting the passenger seat. Ichuli is dead.
Right.
And the driver, he just walks away without a single scratch.
Not a scratch. And instead of being treated like a prime suspect, the police put him in protective custody. They call him a key witness.
Which seems convenient.
Very. Sources we've read are really skeptical. The killer knew exactly where Ichuli was sitting. The driver's miraculous survival just raises all kinds of red flags.
It feels less like a random mugging and more like a professional hit, waiting 2 hours, unmasked, in a populated area.
And the only clue they left behind was a single glove that a police dog found. That level of calm, that confidence, it suggests the killer wasn't afraid of being caught.
And that gets us to the bigger failure here, right? The state's whole promise of security, the CCTV cameras.
Oh, the cameras. The government spent 376 billion shillings on that network.
Wow.
A staggering amount of money. The promise was that this would stop exactly this kind of crime. But once again, when a high-profile murder happens, the cameras, they just didn't capture it.
Which leads to the opposition's argument that the cameras are really for tracking political rivals, not criminals.
It's a powerful argument. And it ties into the language President Museveni used. He blamed the killing on pigs.
Right. And what are we supposed to make of that term?
Well, officially pigs stands for shallow thugs or maybe ADF rebels. But the Observer did this stinging analysis. They pointed out that many critics and people on the street interpret pigs as an acronym for people in government security.
So the call is coming from inside the house.
That's the accusation. It connects to what Justice Margaret Mutungo has been saying about judicial failures. She's criticized security forces for killing suspects rather than arresting them.
Like in the Mohammed Kirimira case.
Exactly like that. And if you kill the suspect, the trail goes cold. You can't ask a corpse who hired them or where the gun came from. The chain of evidence is just gone.
So if we pull back, what does this all mean? Ichuli was a vocal supporter of the ruling NRM party. He wasn't some opposition figure.
And that's the real lesson here. It's what Kalagilani called a sinking boat. In that situation, your political affiliation gives you zero protection.
He supported the regime, but he still lost his life in the same cycle of violence he used to cheer on.
It leaves you with a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? If a man who publicly backed the government and even celebrated violence isn't safe?
And is the concept of security in Uganda even real?
Or is it just a line item in a budget that, in the end, protects absolutely no one? It is really sad. Back to you, Chencher.
Shout out to Uganda. Uganda is a landlocked country in East Africa, bordered by Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. With a population of about 48 million people and a GDP of 53 billion, it's one of Africa's fastest growing nations. Uganda's economy is driven by agriculture, especially coffee, alongside tourism, services, and a rapidly expanding digital sector. We hope Ibrahim Tusuubira Lubega, also known as Jajja Ichuli, or Isma Olaxess case will be solved soon. Please subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell for any development for this and other cases. Peace.